You are listening to How to Live on 24 Hours a Day by Arnold Bennett, narrated by Litnarat. Welcome to Litnarat. Sit back and enjoy classic literature brought to life through narration. Here's the truth that most people never admit to themselves. You feel like your life is not quite yours. You wake up, go through the motions, maybe accomplish some things, but somewhere deep down, there is this nagging feeling, a feeling that you are missing something, that you are leaving things undone, that you should be doing more with your existence. But you tell yourself you don't have the time. The problem with that excuse is simple. You already have all the time there is. Everyone does. And yet most people never truly live. By the end of this story, you will understand why time is actually the only currency that matters, and you will discover a practical system that can transform how you spend every single moment from this day forward. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Most people think the problem with their lives is money. They think if they just had more money, everything would be better. They could buy their way to happiness, to peace, to fulfillment. But money is everywhere. Money is common. It is the least precious thing there is. You can earn more money. You can find money. You can make more money in 1,000 different ways. But time? Time is truly irreplaceable. And here's the most shocking part. Everyone on this planet, from the billionaire to the student to the person struggling to pay rent, receives exactly 24 hours per day. No more, no less. It is the only perfect democracy that exists. Genius does not get extra hours. Wealth does not buy more time. And the most remarkable part is that you cannot draw on the future. You cannot go into debt with time. You can only waste the moment you are in right now, while tomorrow remains safely in reserve, untouched and waiting for you. Think about how strange this is. Your day is like a purse that refills every single morning. No matter what you did yesterday, no matter how much time you squandered, you wake up with a completely fresh allocation. 24 pristine hours. A daily miracle, really, when you think about it. And yet, most people shuffle through their days treating time like it is infinite. They think there will always be more time later. Time for their dreams, time for learning, time for becoming who they actually want to be. But that later never comes. Here is what typically happens. You have your obligations. You need to work. You need to take care of your family. You need to handle the practical necessities of existence. And you do these things. But then, when you are done with those obligations, something strange occurs. Instead of feeling free, instead of feeling like you have reclaimed your life, you feel depleted. You come home from work tired. You tell yourself you need to rest. So you sit on the couch and you scroll through your phone or watch television. Hours vanish, and you cannot even account for where they went. You look at the clock at 11:15 at night, and you have to start thinking about going to bed. And suddenly it is midnight, and you are in bed wondering where your day went. Tomorrow you will do the same thing all over again. The question that haunts you, even if you do not consciously think it, is whether you are actually living or just existing. Are you experiencing your life, or are you letting your life happen to you? This is what the great writer Arnold Bennett wanted his readers to understand more than a century ago, and his insights are more relevant now than ever before. The core problem, according to Bennett, is not that you do not have enough time. It is how you think about your time. Most working people mentally divide their day into two parts. There is the part where you work, where you earn money, where you fulfill your obligations. That is your real day, you think. And then there are all the other hours. The morning before work, the evening after work, the weekends. These are just leftovers. They are margins. They do not really count as your actual life. You are waiting for the weekend. You are waiting for vacation. You are waiting for retirement. You are waiting for real life to begin. This is the fundamental mistake. Those hours before and after work and on weekends, they are not margins. They are your actual life. When you mentally downgrade them to secondary importance, you rob yourself of the ability to truly use them. You need to flip this completely. You need to reorganize how you think about your day. Imagine drawing a line through your day. The 8 hours you spend working, that is just one section. But you have 16 other hours. 16 hours that are entirely yours. 16 hours where you are not a wage earner, you are not worried about money, you are not beholden to anyone else. You are a free person with the ability to cultivate your mind, your character, your soul. That is your real day. That is where actual living happens. Now, here is the immediate objection you are probably having. You are thinking, I am too tired after work. When I get home, I am exhausted. I do not have the energy to do anything meaningful. I just want to rest. Here's what Bennett would tell you, and what research now confirms. You are not actually as tired as you think you are. You have talked yourself into being tired. You have made tiredness into a habit. Think about what happens when you have something exciting to do. Maybe you have plans with friends, or your favorite band is coming to town, or someone special is involved. Do you suddenly not have the energy? Of course not. You find energy you did not know you had. You stay out late, you accomplish things, you feel alive. Then at midnight, when you finally get home, you are not asleep in 5 seconds. You are buzzing with energy. Your energy was there all along. It was a matter of where you directed your attention and your intention. Bennett suggests something radical that you might not expect. Get up earlier in the morning. Yes, earlier. Not by hours necessarily, but even by just 30 minutes to an hour. This is when you have the most mental clarity and the most control over your environment before the day sweeps you away. Now, he is not suggesting you go to bed at the same time and sacrifice sleep. That would be counterproductive. He is suggesting that most of us actually sleep longer than we need to. We sleep more than we should because we have nothing better to do. We are at a loss for diversion. We use sleep as a way to pass time until the real day begins. If you have an extra hour in the morning, before work, before anyone else is awake, you could do something extraordinary. You could read, you could study, you could think deeply. You could contemplate your life and where you are heading. You could work on something that matters to you. You could develop yourself. And this hour would change everything. Not because 1 hour is some kind of magic, but because this 1 hour of deliberate chosen activity would alter your entire mental state for the day ahead. After this morning hour, you still go to work, you still do your job, but you are different. You have already lived a little. You have already been someone intentional. And this changes how you approach everything else. Your work becomes background. It becomes the thing you do to earn money, but it is no longer the definition of your day. Then Bennett talks about using your journey to and from work. That commute, most people waste it. They read the newspaper. They daydream. They let their minds wander aimlessly. Bennett suggests something different. Use that time to train your mind. Practice concentration. Pick a topic and keep your mind focused on it the entire ride. Do not let your thoughts scatter. Every time your mind wanders, bring it back. This is like a gym workout for your brain. You are building the mental muscle of attention and focus. And he recommends studying something practical while you do this. Read a chapter from a great philosopher like Marcus Aurelius, not because it is pretentious or difficult, but because it is deeply practical. These ancient philosophers were writing about how to actually live, how to handle difficult emotions, how to be rational when you want to react emotionally, how to treat other people with kindness even when they frustrate you. These lessons are applied wisdom. They are not abstract. They are for your actual life. When you arrive at the office or wherever you work, you have already done important work on yourself. Then you do your job for the day. In the evening, Bennett suggests something crucial. Do not collapse. Do not assume you are too tired to do anything. Instead, take a piece of your commute home to reflect. Think about your day. Think about how you handled things. Did you react poorly to something? Did you treat someone unkindly? Did you make a decision you are proud of or one you regret? This reflective practice is one of the most underrated tools for self-development that exists. And then when you arrive home, do not immediately fall into the trap of mindless entertainment. Yes, eat dinner. Yes, relax somewhat. But then, before the evening disappears, dedicate a solid block of time to something that develops you. Bennett suggests at least an hour and a half, 3 times a week, maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening, from 9 o'clock to 10:30, for example. You are going to use this time for serious reading and study. Now, Bennett is very specific about what he means by serious reading. Not novels, not entertainment reading, not the newspaper. Serious reading means poetry, history, philosophy, psychology. It means books that require your mental effort, books that make you think, books that challenge your current understanding of how the world works. He recommends starting with something that inspires you. Maybe it is poetry. Maybe it is a particular historical period. Maybe it is the works of a certain thinker. Pick your subject and study it deeply over time. The magic is in consistency and depth. Do not bounce around from topic to topic every week. Commit to studying one subject or one author for months. Really understand it. This is how knowledge builds. This is how you become someone who understands the world at a deeper level than most people. But there is more to developing yourself than just reading. Bennett emphasizes that you should also think about what you read. He says that many people read constantly but gain nothing from it because they do not think about what they are reading. They rush through books trying to check them off a list. What matters is that you read slowly, you read carefully, and you pause to reflect on what the author is saying. You ask yourself questions. You consider how these ideas apply to your own life. This is the hardest part and also the most valuable. If you are not naturally drawn to literature, do not worry. Bennett acknowledges that not everyone loves reading. If that is you, find another pursuit. Study music, learn about art, study the patterns in history, study science. The specific subject matters less than the practice of deep, sustained mental effort on something that interests you. The point is to become someone who is truly awake and aware, someone who understands cause and effect, someone who can think for themselves. Here is something radical that Bennett says. Nothing in life is humdrum. You might think your job is boring. You might think your daily routine is tedious and pointless. But if you really understand how the world works, if you study cause and effect, there is actually nothing boring about existence. Everything is connected. Everything is the result of causes that preceded it. A traffic jam on your drive home is the result of infrastructure decisions made years ago. Your job exists because of economic forces that shaped your industry. The people you encounter in your day are the result of countless circumstances that brought them to this exact moment. When you understand this, when you really grasp the interconnectedness of it all, even mundane things become fascinating. The problem that most people face is not actually lack of time. It is lack of intentionality. It is lack of awareness. It is lack of a plan for how to use the time they have. And it is fear, fear that they cannot do anything about their situation. Fear that changing their habits is too hard. Fear that they will fail if they try. Bennett is honest about this. He does not claim that reorganizing your life is easy. He explicitly warns against this. The very first thing you should understand before you begin is that it will be difficult. You will face resistance. Your own habits will fight against your attempts to change them. You will probably fail occasionally. And this is where most people stop. They try for a week or two, and when they stumble, they give up. But here is what Bennett wants you to understand. The people who succeed are not people who never fail. They are people who fail and keep going anyway. They are people who start with a small, humble goal, not a grand plan to completely transform their lives overnight. Just one thing, maybe just 30 minutes in the morning, or maybe just one evening a week where you study something that interests you. Start small, build from there. Success creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. Momentum creates transformation. There are also several specific pitfalls to avoid. The first is becoming a prig. Do not become someone who judges everyone else for wasting their time. Do not become someone who constantly talks about their self-improvement project. Do not become someone who is disappointed that the whole world is not as committed to personal development as you are. That person is insufferable. Remember that you are only responsible for your own time. Other people can do what they want with theirs. Your job is to focus on yourself. The second pitfall is becoming enslaved to your schedule. Your program should be a guide, not a tyrant. If something unexpected happens, if you want to deviate from your plan, do so. Do not become someone who is so rigid about their routine that life itself becomes a prison. The whole point of developing yourself is to live more fully, not to create new constraints. The third pitfall is becoming so obsessed with what you have to do next that you cannot be present for what you are doing now. This is the trap of constant rushing. You are at dinner but thinking about your reading time. You are supposed to be relaxing, but you are thinking about tomorrow's work. You are so focused on your program that you miss the actual living that is supposed to be happening. The cure for this is to schedule fewer things, not more. Do less, but do it with full presence and full attention. One more thing that Bennett emphasizes is crucial. When you first start this practice, be very careful not to fail, because failure early on can destroy the whole enterprise before it even really begins. You need a success. You need to prove to yourself that you can actually follow through. So start with something genuinely easy. Do not promise yourself that you will read for 90 minutes every single night. You will fail. Instead, promise yourself one evening a week. One evening where you read for just an hour, and then actually do it. Create the habit. Feel the satisfaction of keeping your promise to yourself. Then expand from there. Now let's talk about how this applies to your actual life right now. You have probably noticed that most self-help advice is completely vague. It tells you to follow your dreams or believe in yourself or work harder. None of that is actually helpful because it does not tell you what to do on Monday morning. Bennett is different. He is specific. He is practical. He is telling you exactly how to structure your time and why. If you work a typical 9-to-5 job, here is what your day could look like. Wake up an hour earlier than you currently do. Use the first 30 minutes to an hour for some kind of mental practice. Maybe you read a chapter from a philosophical text. Maybe you meditate and think about your life. Maybe you journal about what you want to accomplish. Then you get ready for work and commute as normal. On your commute, instead of scrolling on your phone or reading the news, you practice concentration. You pick a topic and you keep your mind on it. This takes practice and it is harder than it sounds. But you keep doing it, your mind will wander, you bring it back, over and over again. You work all day. This is not the focus of your development, but you can still be present and do your work with integrity. On your commute home, you do less active thinking and more reflective thinking. You contemplate your day. You think about decisions you made. You consider what you learned. You come home and you eat dinner and you spend some time relaxing. You are not going to be hyperproductive every second of every day, but before you zone out for the evening, you check in with yourself. Is this one of your designated study evenings? If it is, then you spend 90 minutes reading and thinking about something meaningful. If it is not, then you can spend the evening however you want. Friends, entertainment, rest, hobbies, whatever brings you joy. Over time, as you build the habit and experience the benefits, you might want to add more time to your program. Maybe you wake up even earlier. Maybe you study more evenings. Maybe you add weekend time. But you do this gradually as you see the results and as it becomes natural to you. The results are not primarily about accumulating knowledge, though that happens too. The results are about becoming more alive. You will notice that your days feel longer because you are actually experiencing them instead of just passing through them. You will notice that you feel more like you are in control of your life instead of your life controlling you. You will notice that ordinary things become more interesting because you are paying attention to them. You will feel more confident because you are following through on your commitments to yourself. This is something that Bennett understood that many modern productivity gurus do not. It is not about doing more. It is about doing less, but doing it with intention and presence. It is about quality, not quantity. It is about waking up instead of sleepwalking through your existence. The reason people fail at this is usually because they think too much about the future. They think about all the books they want to read, all the things they want to learn, all the person they want to become, and it feels overwhelming and impossible. So they do nothing. Bennett is saying start here, start with next Monday, start with 1 hour, start with one evening, do that, do it well. Then you can build from there. 100 small victories is how you change your life. Now here is something else that is important. As you develop yourself through reading and thinking and studying, you will change. Your perspective will expand. You will see the world differently. You will understand human nature better. You will become more compassionate because you will understand that everything people do has causes and reasons. You will become more rational because you will practice thinking rather than just reacting. You will become more interesting because you will have something to say based on actual understanding rather than just parroting what you heard. People around you might not understand what you are doing at first. They might wonder why you are waking up so early, or why you are reading philosophy books instead of watching the latest show everyone is talking about. This is where you have to be clear about your own priorities. You are not doing this to impress anyone. You are doing it because you want to actually live. You want to be someone who understands the world and themselves. You want to be awake instead of sleepwalking. Bennett also emphasizes something that sounds old-fashioned, but is actually quite modern. He recommends studying the classics, the great philosophers, the great literature, the great histories. Why? Because these have stood the test of time. They have something true to say about how humans actually work and what actually matters. They were not written for commercial purposes or to be consumed quickly. They were written carefully by people who had thought deeply about these subjects. When you read them, you are essentially having a conversation with some of the smartest, most thoughtful people who ever lived. That is incredibly valuable. At the same time, do not think that you have to immediately jump into the most difficult works. If you have never read serious philosophy, do not start with Kant. Start with something accessible. Start with an essay that speaks to you. Start with a topic that genuinely interests you. The point is to build the habit of reading seriously and thinking carefully. As you do this, you will become better at it and you will be able to tackle more challenging works. One thing Bennett says that is very counter to modern thinking. Do not read novels during your serious reading time, not because novels are bad. Some of the great literature is fiction, but because novels do not require the same mental effort that poetry or philosophy or history does. A good novel pulls you forward. It does not require you to stop and think. It does not create that productive struggle that develops your mind. So during your designated serious study time, choose something that makes you work mentally. Then read novels when you want to relax and enjoy a good story. As you build this practice, you will start to see results almost immediately. The first result is probably that you have more energy and vitality. This might sound contradictory. You are using more of your time, but you feel less drained? Yes, because you are actually engaged with your life instead of passively letting it happen. Engagement energizes you. Passivity drains you. The person who is actively learning and growing feels more alive than the person who is consuming entertainment and passing time. The second result is that you sleep better. When your mind has been actively engaged in meaningful thought during the day, your sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. You wake up more rested, even though you are sleeping the same number of hours. The third result is that you feel more in control of your life. You are not at the mercy of circumstances or your moods or other people's agendas. You have created a structure that supports your own growth and development. This sense of agency and intentionality spreads to other areas of your life. The fourth result is that you become a more interesting person. You have thoughts and ideas that are genuinely yours, not just things you absorb from social media or casual conversation. When you talk to people, you have something meaningful to contribute. The fifth and perhaps most important result is that the baseline unhappiness that so many people experience starts to fade. That nagging feeling that something is wrong or missing in your life. That comes from the sense that you are not truly living, that you are not developing your potential, that you are just going through motions. When you actually start engaging with your life intentionally, when you start developing yourself, that feeling goes away. Is it easy? No. Will you sometimes fail to follow your program? Yes. Will you sometimes feel too tired or too busy? Absolutely, but you keep coming back to it. And slowly, gradually, your life transforms, not dramatically, but genuinely. Here is something that Bennett understood that we need to relearn in our age of constant distraction. Boredom is not actually caused by lack of stimulation. It is caused by lack of engagement. The person scrolling through social media for 3 hours is bored, even though they are receiving constant stimulation. The person who is reading a challenging book or thinking deeply about a complex idea is engaged, even if there is no external entertainment. Modern technology has made it easier than ever to distract ourselves from the reality of our lives. We can stay busy all day long and never actually do anything meaningful. We can consume enormous amounts of content and still feel empty, but a program of serious self-development inoculates you against this. You have something to do that is actually yours, something that is actually developing you, something that is actually making you into someone better than you were. Let's be very practical here. What would this look like for you specifically? What is one area where you genuinely want to develop yourself? Maybe it is your career and you want to really understand your industry at a deeper level. Maybe it is philosophy and you want to understand how people have thought about meaning and ethics. Maybe it is history and you want to understand how the world came to be the way it is. Maybe it is some field of knowledge that you have always been curious about but never had time for. Pick that one area. Find a book that introduces it. Not a superficial book, but something substantial, something written by someone who genuinely understands the subject. Commit to reading that book for 90 minutes a week. That is 3 times 30 minutes, or once a week for 90 minutes. That is all. Just that, and commit to doing this for 3 months, not forever, not some grand permanent commitment, just 3 months, 12 weeks, 14 sessions. During those sessions, you will read, but you will also stop and think. You will ask yourself questions. You will consider how what you are reading relates to your own life. And after 3 months, you will know something real. You will have spent about 20 hours thinking carefully about this subject. You will be someone who understands it at least reasonably well. And more importantly, you will have proven to yourself that you can do this. You can create change in your life. You can become someone new. This is the promise that Arnold Bennett makes in How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. Not that you will become a genius. Not that you will become a world-class expert in some field, but that you can become more fully alive. You can become someone who actually experiences their life instead of just passing through it. You can become someone who is developing their potential instead of letting it lie dormant. You can become someone who controls their time instead of letting their time control them. And the crazy part is that none of this requires extraordinary talent or resources. It does not require money. It does not require special abilities. It just requires the decision to do it and the discipline to follow through. It requires 1 hour a day or a few hours a week. That is all. That is literally all it takes to completely change your life. The years are going to pass anyway. You are going to get older. Time will continue whether you use it wisely or waste it. But the person you become in those years depends entirely on what you do with the time. Will you be someone who wondered what they could have done but never tried? Or will you be someone who actually used their time and developed themselves and experienced their life fully? Bennett wrote this book more than a century ago, and it has never been out of print. It has influenced countless people, and it remains relevant because the fundamental truth about time and life and human potential does not change. You still have 24 hours every day. You still have the ability to use those hours intentionally. You still have the capacity to grow and develop and become more than you are. The only question is whether you will actually do it. Thank you for listening to Litnerat. If you enjoyed this classic tale, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more timeless literature brought to life through narration. See you in the next story.